Okay, so open Illustrator and then say create new. And we're going to be using film video 1920 by 1080. This is actually a standard size we're going to be using this semester. And then you can say create. And the first thing I want you to do is make a white background. Um, the artboard is actually this dark black line right there. So we're just going to go ahead and have that extend a little bit past that. Doesn't need to be exact, but it should be at least a little bit bigger than that. All right. And then we'll call this background. And then lock it. Next, we're going to make a new layer. And we're going to drag in the 3 logos from the Illustrator review file. So just 1, 2, 3. And then we'll just move these around so that they're positioned in the screen just big enough so we can see it. If you scale them up, make sure you hold down the Shift key. It's different than Photoshop that way so that they aren't distorted. There we go. And then we'll name this layer raster. And then we'll also lock this layer. With the properties, actually before we lock that, make sure you embed these layers. So click on embed for each of them. And again, this is not a tutorial. I'm doing this just quickly to show you the workflow. And then we'll go ahead and lock that. And then you're going to make separate layers for each logo. So there's going to be the NC one, the shell logo, and then the World Wrestling Federation or World Wildlife Fund, depending which one you want to go with. Then your task is to trace this out as precisely as you can. You don't need to trace out the tiny little text there, but you do need to trace out the outlines and also match the colors. So if you haven't used the pen tool before, or if that feels very you're sort of unsure of that, then you're definitely going to want to watch those lynda.com tutorials and brush up on that. But you should be able to do zigzags. Let me actually make this have a line quality so we can see it. You should be able to control the curve of lines and change direction of those curves. So if you're not able to make shapes like that pretty quickly, then you're definitely going to want to brush up on that first before you try these logos. So your goal is to try to do these logos as precisely as possible. I'm not going to do all 3 of them in this video, but I'm just going to sort of show you starting off. You want to do this with as few points as possible, so you want to be as efficient as you can. So for this first curve, it's a matter of controlling those Beziers. Then I'll change the direction and go through. And probably at a certain point, I'd want to get rid of that clear outline. So I'll go ahead and get rid of the fill. I'll probably make this a brighter color just so I can see what I'm working on. And then I will go to my strokes. And I'll make this a little bit bigger just so I can see what I'm doing. Then to continue this line, I click back on that, and so on. You'll need to use the Pathfinder also to get rid of holes. So I'm going to do this very quickly, so it's not going to look very good, but I want you to take your time with this, make it as controlled as you can. There's different ways of doing, oh, that one I need to do some work on. Let's see, here we go. All right. There we go. So there's different ways you can handle these interior shapes. You can use the Pathfinder, you can use the Shape Builder. I really strongly recommend being comfortable with both. So, oops, let me change that direction. And in this case, it will be handy to have a fill. I'd have to fix that a little bit. Oops, there we go. You should be able to also go back and use the Convert Anchor Point tool. I get it. It's helpful to get into the habit of using keyboard shortcuts, but there's the Convert Anchor Point. So if you ever need to change how an anchor appears, you can do that. So these tools here, the pen, the direct selection tool, the selection tool, and the Convert Anchor Point tool, those are the ones that you really, really need to know really well for this course. So if you don't know how to make gradients that well or a lot of this other stuff, that's fine. Those pen tools you need to know extremely well. At any rate, with creating compound shapes, what I'm going to go ahead and do is give them a fill color, just something that I can see what I'm working on. And there's a couple different ways I can do this. So for instance, I could select everything and use the shape builder tool. And if I want to subtract one shape from the other with them all selected, I can hold down the Option key and subtract that. That's one way to do it. The other way that's a sort of more common way of doing it is I can use the shape builder. So I'd grab two separate shapes rather than, all of them. And I could say, for example, subtract the front, and that would do that. The challenge with that, of course, is then that guy gets, hidden behind. So I could also do something like intersect. Whoops, not intersect, sorry. The full pathfinder, and then I can grab this interior shape and delete it. So there's different methods for building complex shapes. You should be familiar with the pathfinder and the shape builder tools to do that. Finally, I'm going to go ahead and change those colors for this logo. Actually, we'll just go like this, and then I'll hide that. The first thing I want to do is make sure that this color matches that dark blue outline. So I'll toggle that. And then I want to make sure that that fill color matches that. So you're going to have to use swatches to save those colors. So I'd go to the window and pull up swatches. And when you're doing logo design, this is really important to be able to do this. So I grab this guy. There we go. I can grab that swatch, and then I'll grab that guy. There we go. So now I can toggle these and set that interior color to that light blue. And then that stroke, I'd want to try to match the width of that line. So go back to I guess I hid the strokes already. There we go, something like that. So I'm doing this super quickly. You definitely want to do this better than I am. But basically, one way to check your work is to hide that raster layer so you can check how your logo looks. So this is pretty sloppy. I'd probably get like a 60 or 70% on that, maybe not even that much. So you do want to take your time with this. Precision is a big part of this. But I want you to trace out all three logos and then save this file and upload it to Canvas.